County Commissioners, February 25th, 2020. Thank you for your indulgence. We had to move the meeting back an hour because all three of us attended, and staff attended, the CVB lunch today, celebrating all things Convention Center and Convention Center District. So thank you for being willing to be flexible with us. We have a number of presentations today. The first is about the FC Garage that is to be built soon, coming online. Phil Beck is here to talk to us about that, and I think give us some renderings of what we should anticipate. So come on up, Phil.
Phil Beck, Hamilton County Construction Executive. Thank you for your time. So this is the first project status report that you all have seen, but we'll have more as we go forward. But as you said, Commission President, we are under a time crunch with this particular project, and so we're about ready to get started in the field. Just a real quick overview. We're talking about an 833 space garage, 5.5 stories. It is to support the MLS bid originally, but it's also really to support the ongoing stadium operations and long-term the surrounding development, which will be happening in this West End neighborhood. It's located just north of the FCC Stadium, and the one date for sure is March 1, 2021. We need to park cars in there. This is generally where it's located. You see Washington Park, Music Hall, Finley Market is right here, I believe. So we're talking about right here where the star is, and then the main stadium is immediately to the south. General plan showing the footprint of the garage, stadium in the bottom corner, and future development immediately to the east and immediately to the north. There is some possibility that this corner could be developed at some point in the future as well. It depends on real estate acquisitions. But this much we know today. These are the renderings. First time they've been shown publicly. This is looking at the garage from the northeast corner. This east facade is not terribly exciting, but the point is it's going to have a 10-story office building slapped right up against it at some point in the future, hopefully soon. So we don't really want to spend a whole lot of public money on things that are going to get covered up, which is the immediate slide coming up, that this will show the future. So that's the garage, and that's after development, north and east. So this is the northeast corner stair tower. Another angle, we're moving around to the north, looking at the garage, and same thing, after development. So before development, so this would be March 1, 2021. Yes, to the south. Yeah, so we're on the north side, and that's after development. And as we continue to move to the west, we're now looking at the northwest corner. The signage is up for discussion. This is basically just showing some concepts for exactly what the words are. Moving around to the southwest corner, stair tower. So there's two stair towers in this rectangular garage, southwest and northeast. Continuing to move around the corner and looking at the garage from the south, looking north with the stadium to the right. This is actually the most garage you'll see after the development is complete surrounding it. This next slide shows, this is actually a page out of our most recent bid package number 1 for foundation work. We took bids tail end of last week for auger cast piles and site perimeter fencing, which is what's shown here in red. It's one of the first things we'll be doing as early as next week, based on your decision Thursday, which I'll get to in a second. But we have perimeter site security fence, as well as stormwater protection as expected. And then we start with the auger cast piles for the project. And all the rest of the project will be packages of bid package 2 to be bid April timeframe and awarded so that the contractors can begin early May. So these are the actions I'm requesting the Commission to consider. We need to finalize our design agreement. We need to finalize our supplemental project management agreement, which is the folks helping with construction oversight. And then our first bid package, which is the construction contract. So the design, the leader of the team is THP, the project management leader is Skanska, and the bid package 1, auger cast piles, low bid was Gettle. So these 3 resolutions would be for your consideration in 2 days. That's it.
Just as a reminder as to kind of how we got here, recall that there was a resolution passed, it's been, a number of years ago now, where the Commission said that we would help with the FC Stadium by building a garage that would accommodate 1,000 spaces. Had to do that and also have a community benefit tied to it. And so what we did was offer a plan that has the garage, that is this one to the north, kind of on the stadium site, but to the north of the facility, and then the other garage, which will be smaller, is over near Findlay Market. And so this one is 850 spots or so. The other one then will pick up the rest of the 1,000 that this Commission is obligated to do. That is in the offing, and we have an agreement with FC Cincinnati that says that that is fine, the timeframes are fine, and we, as you all know, have worked out the other pieces of this. But so this is the byproduct, or I guess the next step, you know, from those negotiations. So that's right, and these are parking dollars, parking revenue dollars. None of this money is coming out of the general fund. Thank you, Commissioner, for reminding me. So are there any questions or comments related to the presentation?
Madam President, just a couple comments. Thank you, Phil. The March 1st, 2021 is the opening day. Is that what that date is?
It's being timed. I don't have the FC schedule for 2021 yet, but they typically will schedule games early in March to begin their season. So we want to make sure that our facility, it's per the agreement that Denise mentioned, it is stipulating that our first facility of the 2 is timed with their stadium opening.
Okay. And secondly, just Phil, if you, on the last page with all the numbers on it, with the design agreement, you did just mention who received the design agreement. If you could just maybe update it for me and just put those names on there, who those people are.
Sure.
I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
Okay, thanks.
And so these 3 resolutions will come in front of us on Thursday.
Yes.
And that will have all the language around it by way of the contracts we're entering into.
Well, it'll have the agreements attached to the resolution.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have the design agreement, we have the supplemental project management agreement attached to the second resolution, and then we'll have the construction contract attached to the third resolution. Yes.
Thank you.
No comments.
Okay. All right, so thank you. Also, I passed out a motion, and we did circulate this, I don't know if, yesterday? You circulated this yesterday. I don't know if my colleagues had a chance to take a look at it. But it's a motion establishing policy direction for the construction of the garage, similar to what we did on the coroner's office, where we've got a community benefits agreement here, which talks about local hire, people that are well-skilled, and inclusion policies. And so I'm not going to ask that we pass this today to give you both a chance to take a look at that in the hopes that we can pass it on Thursday with all the other things that will be in front of us. Okay. just take a look at that. I think this is a revised version too, isn't it, Alex? Yeah, so this is the more updated of the two versions. All right, thank you, Phil. We look forward to having that in front of us on Thursday. Appreciate it. All right, our second item is the Miami Conservancy District Aquifer Preservation Subdistrict. Okay. So welcome to our meeting. Please introduce yourself and your colleague.
Sure. I'm Mike Eckberg, and I'm the manager of water monitoring and data analysis with the Miami Conservancy District. I'm here with Dr. Sarah Hippensteel Hall, and we thank you very much for letting us come and fitting us in your agenda. We wanted to come and give you a little update on some of the things that we have going on with the Miami Conservancy District. The Miami Conservancy District, I'm not sure how familiar you are with who we are and what we do and everything, so if you'll indulge me, I'll give you the 1-minute elevator speech on who we are. The Miami Conservancy District is technically a political subdivision of the state of Ohio, and we really got our beginning after the 1913 flood. The 1913 flood on the Great Miami River was a devastating flood. It pretty much wreaked havoc on the downtown areas of all the communities up and down the Great Miami River, from Piqua all the way down to Hamilton. And as a result of that, the Conservancy District, the Miami Conservancy District, was created. And we built a flood protection system. It consists of 5 dams, 5 earthen dams, and about 55 miles of levee and engineered channelways that protect the downtown areas of those communities from flooding. That system was put in place. It was completed by about 1923, and since then, none of those downtown areas have flooded as a result of the Great Miami River coming out of its banks. So almost 100 years of flood protection. So I've touched on, we are flood protection. We're also about recreation along the riverways. They create great recreation amenities, and we're about water stewardship. So I'm going to turn it over for just a minute here to Sarah, and she's going to talk a little bit about some of the recreation and what we have going on.
And our main reason for being here is to talk about our water stewardship programs and the work that we've been doing over the last 8 years. But since we're here, we might as well give you just a little overview of all of the things that we're doing. And the Great Miami River was designated as Ohio's only national water trail. The National Park Service and the Department of Interior only designate very special and healthy rivers as those national water trails. It's the only one in Ohio. There are only 22 in the country. We're very proud of that designation, and it's because of the work of all the cities and the communities, the counties along that river, of providing that great public access and also keeping our water clean, that provides that amazing public amenity. And so we publish a water trail map that includes all public access sites that people can get into the river, either for paddling or just fishing or bird watching, but also keeping them safe, and so there's a lot of safety information that comes with that. The Great Miami River cities, some of them have also partnered to use the river to promote economic development. And we know that travel and tourism then drives workforce attraction and retention. It's very critically important to our communities. And so one of the, I always say, the superpowers of the Conservancy District is we can facilitate large-scale jurisdictional partnerships, whereas they might not want to partner together, but they can through us seating them all at the table and getting them to partner. So as far as recreation goes, the Great Miami River is a really important part of what we offer to our communities for quality of life, and then also knowing that really that leads to economic investment in our communities. So I'm going to Mike's going to talk about water stewardship, and then I have some handouts. We're going to not make you subjected to slides today. We've got leave behind so that you can take your time looking at things. And one of the things we're going to leave with you is this waterproof water trail map that we give to communities. I know you're happy about that.
Waterproof, I like it.
So Hamilton County is fortunate to be in a place where it's water blessed. When you look at, you've got the Ohio River, And, the Greater Cincinnati Water Works gets a lot of its water from the Ohio River. But we also, Hamilton County has, just in the western part of the county, you have the Great Miami River, and you have an abundant supply of water associated with an aquifer that kind of follows the course of the Great Miami River. It's an aquifer that's made up of sand and gravel. And Greater Cincinnati Water Works actually gets some of its drinking water from wells in that aquifer system. The other thing I'll say you may or may not be aware of is that industry in the Mill Creek Valley, some of it like Procter & Gamble and GE, they get their industrial process water from the Great Miami Aquifer. The Southwestern Ohio Water Company brings water from the Great Miami River watershed over into Mill Creek because the water levels in Mill Creek over the years back were being depleted. So just a little bit of information there. Now, at the Miami Conservancy District, we really want to work. We recognize that this aquifer system that is pretty much underlies the Great Miami River is a prolific supply. It supplies water for drinking all up and down the Great Miami River. And we've been involved in a number of projects over years to protect the quality of that water. One thing I'll mention just recently, we've been working with the University of Cincinnati, and we've provided some funding and technical support to get an observatory established on land that's actually part of the great parks of Hamilton County. But we've established an observatory out there in the western part of Hamilton County. It's a world-class research facility. And what it does is it looks at the interactions between the river and the aquifer system. And Reza Sultanian, Dr. Reza is with the University of Cincinnati. He's heading up that effort. But it is the only facility of its type east of the Mississippi River. And it's on a kind of a world national network of observatories, and there's some world-class research being done at that facility by UC and other people as well. I also want to mention that Confluence, which is here in Hamilton County, it's a water technology innovation cluster. What Confluence does is it brings private industry, researchers together and everything to tackle challenges that are out there in water treatment and water supply, and to try to innovate and incubate new technologies and get them into market. And we've worked with Melinda Cryer, who is kind of heading that up on a number of projects to try to bring new water technologies to bring them into the market. So we've been working with them. Another thing we've done recently in recent years is we've worked with the Village of Cleves on a source water protection plan. Cleves has wells on the Great Miami River aquifer, and recognize the need to protect the quality of the water that supplies those wells. And so we've helped Cleves on some efforts to put together a source water protection plan. We're out there. We have watershed-wide networks of stream gauges. We monitor levels in the aquifer all the time. We do research with a lot of universities, including UC, University of Dayton, and other institutions on various topics that have to do with water quality. We're also involved with education efforts to try to get, we've been working with the Area 4 Envirothon, which is a competitive academic sort of thing to tackle water challenges, and we have some schools in high schools in the Hamilton County area that participate in that. We've also recognized that as good as our water is, and we have abundant and it is high quality water, we do have some issues with naturally occurring arsenic, particularly for homeowners that have a private well. Okay, they're not required to do testing for it. So we've been working with health departments and with others to try to get word out that if you have a private well, you really need to get it tested. And then if you do have elevated arsenic, there's things you can do to reduce that. So those are some of the things that we've been doing. We're at the end of an 8-year cycle, and we want to get input from you on priorities. So I'm going to turn it back over to Sarah.
Thank you. Make sure the clerk gets one. Thank you.
So if you open up your packet, on the left-hand side is really the main reason that we came here today, and we really do appreciate having us on your agenda. We know that you've got a lot of important things to cover, but this is our 8-year summary report. We do send an annual report too, and we're happy to come anytime you want us to. We just we don't want to take your time if we don't have to. So the color copy is really all the things that have been happening in this watershed around water quality, both groundwater and surface water. But then we did put together a 2-page specifically just to call out things that we're doing in your county if you have questions about that. On the right-hand side are some of the main district, the Miami Conservancy District annual report, and then some of the things that we've been giving to homeowners. So we did work closely with Soil and Water Conservation District and Health Department to design these informational sheets on how to maintain your septic system so it doesn't pollute water, and how to have your well tested. And then, of course, that water trail map is over there as well. But if you flip this single sheet over, and Mike kind of summarized what was on the front, it talks about this program, how we've had it funded since 1996. It is a regional partnership of 9 counties. Hamilton County is one of them. We have not had a change in our assessment since 2005. We are very lean. We leverage a lot of state and federal funds to do these programs and to meet the needs of our communities. And so we haven't had a change in assessment since 2005. We will not have one in 2020, and we will then reevaluate in 21, and you will hear from us if there is a change in assessment. As always, we tell our counties that we do not mix our flood protection, recreation, and water stewardship funds. Those we do work, in silos. Recreation doesn't pay for flood protection, and vice versa, things like that. The program gets reauthorized every 8 years. That's part of its charter, or in our language, the official plan of our sub-district. And that reauthorization is due this year, and we take your input and your needs very seriously. Now, we do work with a lot of county staff on water issues, but we want to hear from you as well. And so we've provided an easy way for you to do that. You're welcome to put it in your own words and write anything to us, but we also try to make it as easy as possible. And if you have input, we would appreciate it being submitted, and then the address is there to submit. It says March 1st. That's not a hard and fast deadline. Shortly after. Our board meets in late March, and we'll consider reauthorization and use your input to do that reauthorization. So that's why we're here. We really appreciate your time, and you heard us talk about Aquifer Preservation Subdistrict. One of the things we've done over the last 8 years was recognize that doesn't really roll off the tongue, and we had an expert help us start to sort of rebrand and message so that we can reach people better with our water messaging, and that's why we refer to water stewardship instead.
All right, great. Thank you. So just to be clear, because
Yes.
I was looking for the map to try to figure out, the waterway. So this is the western part of Hamilton County. It extends up. Is this the river that goes straight through Dayton?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It has lights, all different color lights on the bridges? Is that? Okay.
Yes.
All right. And then it continues to the north?
All the way up to Sydney
Okay.
and beyond, really to Indian Lake.
Okay, all right.
It's 156 miles
I
long.
just want to get a better sense of the geography of this and the expanse, really, of
Yes.
the region.
Yes.
4,000 square mile area.
Okay.
And if you open to the last page of this color, it is the outline is there.
Yep. Okay. All right, and thank you. I know that you do an annual report, and I think it would be helpful to have you in on an annual basis. So thank you for coming in.
We'd be happy
and
to come
offering it
anytime.
to us this year. Are there any questions or comments?
Thank you for all your work. I was looking at your one-pager, and as you indicated a little farther down, educated managers of green spaces. Just would like to know, not now, what managers that you've worked with, so we can make sure that the ones that are not aware that they can have some of your services will tap into what you can do to help them. I see the golf courses and things like that, but who have you actually worked with?
We've had a number of trainings over that 8-year span, and so I'm not going to be able to tell you exactly who's had trainings, but we've trained hundreds of people over those 8 years. We've had national experts come in and do trainings, and we'll host them, and that's part of our service to these communities. So we've worked with the park districts, and I cannot tell you the names of...
Well, just more specific about what areas that are losing out on that training. Is Woodlawn, is Green Hills part, have they been involved in the training, so we can just educate the people that have not been involved?
No, that's a good idea, and I would be happy to take any advice on how we can reach some of those people a little bit better. That name is not familiar to me, but when our trainings are open, they're usually open to everyone, and we try to host them in different locations throughout the watershed so that people don't always have to travel very far. And that program is specifically something that the National Groundwater Foundation is called the Groundwater Guardian Green Site. And there is a process that if you're a green site owner, like a golf course or a park, there's a checklist, and you can kind of evaluate how well you're doing to protect groundwater. So how well you're storing your chemicals or applying pesticides, and then it helps rate you and then tells you how you can get a better rating. And we have worked with the National Groundwater Foundation to supplement people's application to that program, provide the trainings for free, and so it's just one of the things that we've done.
Thank you.
And happy to, if there's a specific place you'd like us to hold that, that would be fabulous.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right, great. I have one last question. So, relative to the assessment, I heard you say that the assessment will not be going up this year. Is it under your authority that a recommendation would come for an increase, or how does that work?
Me personally, or the Conservancy District?
Conservancy District?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
All right, very
So our general manager, board of directors, and then we have a conservancy court, a common pleas court judge from each county. Hamilton is one of them, and they make the final authorization, and any final decision has to go through them. And it's quite a I don't want to say long process, but it takes a good part of a year to change an assessment.
Okay. Well, thank you for your work in keeping those assessments down, because evidently that's been happening. So thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
We really appreciate your time, and we're happy to come every year. We just don't want to, we know you have
I think
many
so.
important
Yeah,
things.
just call us, and we'll put it on the calendar, because I think it's helpful. I think it's especially helpful because we deal with what we deal with, but every now and again, this is so different from the parking garage we just discussed, and some of the other kind of issues that we deal with in the urban core. This is way out to the west, and you're talking about nature and waterways, and it's refreshing, frankly, to hear, and it reminds us how diverse and huge this county is, and what we're dealing with when we talk about Hamilton County. So I think it's really helpful that you're here.
Thank you.
So thank you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much.
All right. Our next two items are related to sewers. MSD, Ryan is here to talk on behalf of MSD and the CIP project legislation. It was handed out. You all, yes, okay, do you have, it's this one. So we have it in front of us. So please, Ryan, walk us through this.
Okay. The 2020 capital budget had 18 projects that were conditionally approved. We were asked to meet with the county team before January 31st to develop and agree upon fact sheets for these projects. What this legislation is, it's 10 of those 18 projects. The fact sheets are attached. But basically this would be to change Exhibit A and authorize funding for planning, design, and easement acquisition activities in the amount of $11,699,425. 4 of the 10 projects, 5 of the projects are planning and design for solids management and odor control improvements at various MSD treatment plants. Two of these projects are capital allowances that, one of which is our hydraulic modeling allowance that supports planning and design for all of our projects. The other allowance is for post-construction monitoring activities to ensure that we are complying with the WIP, phase one of the WIP. Two of the projects are planning funds for improvements related to elimination of sewer backups. And finally, one project is for planning and design easement acquisition for improvements at our Pleasant Run pump station, which is one of the largest pump stations that we have in the northern part of the county. So I'll pause there if there are any questions specific to these 10 projects.
Okay, so, and I'm going to, Karen Ball is in the room, so Karen, please come forward. Yeah, because my understanding is that the county is in agreement that we need to move forward as quickly as we can on these projects. Just want to make
That's
sure that
correct.
that is correct.
I'll put a finer point on that. One of the items contained within the 10 includes the hydraulic modeling improvements that we are all seeking, and what will happen with the funding is 126 additional monitors will be placed throughout the county to help us to collect the data through the spring events, the whole year of events. So we have a good sampling of what goes on throughout the year to put our refined model together with.
Okay. So, and Ryan, remind us how this relates to the budget that we passed last year, at the end of last year.
So the budget includes projects that are for planning, design, and easement acquisition. That funding is typically appropriated with the approval of the budget. The budget also includes construction projects, and we come back with the plans, and you approve the plans and appropriate the funding for construction at that time. So there, even though there's an overall budget, not all the funds are appropriated. These funds were in the budget, so it's not a budget increase. It just releases the conditions on 10 of those 18 projects.
Okay. So, yeah, and I just wanted to be clear on that. So we've already dealt with these. This is simply the legislation to get it going.
Correct.
To get it moving.
Yes.
So, and I think we're in agreement that that needs to happen. So are there any questions or comments related to this item?
No questions.
Commissioner?
I have no questions.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So, is the expectation that we would do this today or Thursday? Do we have a preference? I'm okay making a motion to approve of this today, if my colleagues are. Or do you want to, we can wait till Thursday?
Till Thursday.
Sorry,
Jackie's, I think it's on the agenda already.
on Thursday?
It's by link, okay.
Okay, all right, that's fine, so 2 days. All right, so we will have this in front of us on Thursday with the expectation that we'll move it through, so, okay.
Okay,
Thank you for that,
I
Ray.
just had,
Appreciate it. Yeah.
I promise I'll be brief, but I just wanted to give you an update on the other 8 projects.
Okay.
There were 18 that were
Yep.
conditional. So those remain on hold, and we continue to work with the county team to get those, to reach agreement. Of those 8, there are 3 that there are some engineering concerns on. One of those is the Upper Muddy Creek Interceptor that's also on the agenda, and we haven't, unfortunately, we haven't been able to meet with the county team, that they aren't able to discuss it for whatever reason. We'd love to be able to discuss it and figure out a way to move that project forward. As it is right now, it's at a standstill and nothing has moved. Nothing has really changed since we talked about this a year ago. And I just want to briefly add that, so last week, I was with our director at the council committee, Councilmember Landsman's committee, and he asked for an update on this project. We gave an update, and then he proposed using his committee as a public forum so that we could discuss the project with stakeholders and MSD and city and county officials. In addition to that, Councilmember Landsman requested MSD provide an update on the UMCI, a written response as to why a temporary fix would not be possible. I don't have a copy of that with me, but I know that was sent yesterday to Councilmember Landsman, and we can get a copy of that for you.
I think that would be helpful.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, so thank you for this. So we You have a
I just had a question as it relates to our Hamilton County team and our inability to meet. Is that some sort of legal issue that I'm seeing no over here? And
Okay, so this is the next agenda item, the Upper Muddy Creek Interceptor. So just to,
Okay.
yeah, no, I think it's a valid
Sure.
question.
And if there are any questions for us after that presentation or at any point, I've got the MSD project manager, Aaron Burkhart, here, as well as our engineering design consultant project manager, Melissa Holscher.
Okay, great. So let's put this in context. And so there was a meeting last week of Councilman Landsman's Committee where they talked about the Upper Muddy Creek Interceptor. Recall that we've had public hearings related to this item in the context of some, SBU program and other projects. And so we have had conversations about this project. We also asked for some modeling from MSD related to the size of the pipe, the trajectory of the pipe, because this commission wants to resolve the issue, get the seepage out of the creek, but also not create overflows downstream, particularly in the Sailor Park community, who I hear from on a weekly basis or so, talking about their concerns about any increased overflow in Sailor Park and what might happen if this pipe were to be constructed at a certain diameter, at a certain trajectory. And so we have said in the past, MSD and our team have said, we would like to see some modeling that does not create increased flow downstream. If that's we've got a 30-inch pipe right there now. Why not put a 30-inch pipe in? And our original, correct me if I'm wrong, proposition was maybe we can repair what's already there and take care of the problem that way. It might be cheaper. We can keep the alignment as it is and not increase overflow. And so MSD did not want to handle the project in that way. So therein lies the stalemate, and that's been an ongoing conversation. However, in the meantime, we've heard very recently from Green Township about the continued seepage in the creek, and we need to do something in the meantime, because even if we were to come up with a resolution tomorrow, it's going to take some time to build a new pipe, no matter what trajectory that pipe is and no matter what size that pipe is. And so we have said, hey, let's try to get something in place in the meantime. Maybe it's a patch, maybe it's some kind of repair, because there are gaping holes in this pipe, and before the rainy season comes, maybe we can get that taken care of. There was a conversation about that at council last week, and MSD is of the mind that that's not possible. And so we were hearing on the county side that it is possible. And so we're trying to reconcile what we're hearing from both sides with the understanding that we just really want to get the seepage out of the stream, or out of the creek, so that Green Township and the folks, this runs in the backyard of some of the folks that live out there, and so trying to at least resolve it temporarily while we continue to have a conversation about the long-term construction of the pipe. So that's a picture of part of the pipe. And I actually did a field trip, I guess it was last week, and went out to see this, and it is literally in these people's backyard. And so we have some folks here from the county side to talk to us about, because we've heard this before, that we can do some repairs here in the meantime, and so we wanted to get a better understanding of that. So I don't know who is going to speak to that. Okay. Oh, I didn't see you back there. Please come forward. So Brandon Vatter is here. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And Joe Graff is here as well.
My name is Brandon Vatter. I'm part of the county team. I've been working with the county team and Karen Ball and others since about 2011. I'm a registered professional engineer in the state of Ohio. I have about 24 years of wastewater engineering experience. Prior to joining the county team, I was the director of planning and design for the Northern Kentucky Sanitation District. For those of you not familiar, they're the service provider for wastewater and stormwater to the three-county area across the river, Campbell, Kent, and Boone counties. Very similar problems to what Hamilton County has in terms of overflows, in terms of old infrastructure. In my role there, I worked almost on a weekly basis with our field crews, making repairs very similar to these as well. In addition to that background, I've also served as the Stormwater and Combined Sewer Overflow Program Manager for the Pittsburgh Water and Sewer Authority. Again, very similar sized utility, to Hamilton County MSD with very similar problems. I've personally walked the length of the sewer in question and examined the holes in the sewer. You all have some pictures of some of the holes that were identified as part of those field walks. Those holes in the sewer and manholes are what we're talking about in terms of immediate repairs. They can be repaired with, a combination of concrete, some wire mesh, some wire fabric to go around those openings and seal them up to provide some temporary repairs. It's important to emphasize we're talking about temporary repairs. Ultimately, in this particular location, that sewer, as part of the county plan and as part of MSD's plan, was going to be moved out of the creek bed into the roadway. The majority of the county's alternative was to relocate the sewer, but in some strategic locations to repair it in place with various techniques. We've estimated that this type of work could be done with a 2 to 3 person construction crew, small equipment, hand tools, either concrete mixed on site like you would do in your backyard with dry mix that you'd get from Home Depot, or ready mix concrete delivered on site. There would probably need to be some traffic control to allow the ready mix concrete to be delivered, get folks down there safely to do the work. There was a question that came up about bypass pumping and the need to take the wastewater out of the sewer, dry up the sewer in order to do the repairs. These types of repairs are external. All the work can be done external and allow the flow to continue to go through the sewer. So we didn't see a strong need for bypass pumping, although MSD has just recently completed bypass pumping on the Mill Creek Interceptor, which is a very large sewer tributary to the Mill Creek treatment plant. And it's quite a bit more flow than what we would see in a sewer of this size. So that type of bypass pumping could be done. We think there just might be a misunderstanding on the types of repairs that are needed. You mentioned that they weren't sure that they could do this. This type of work is done every day, almost across the country. Again, from my experience, we did it almost on a weekly basis, trying to put sewers back together on a short-term basis. This is very common. These sewers were built in the 20s, 30s, 40s. The creek erodes, it moves. The creek bottom used to be, above where that top of the concrete was, and over time it erodes and exposes everything. Same types of problems in northern Kentucky. We put together short-term solutions for, to hold together for 2 or 3 years so we could engineer the right long-term solution. So it's pretty common. The sewer contractors that do this work in northern Kentucky also do the work here in Cincinnati. Many of the folks I know personally. So I'm confident that either between MSD's field crews or the sewer contractors that are available in the area that they could do this work relatively quickly. And again, I just want to emphasize that these are meant to be temporary repairs, just to put the pipe back together, keep the sewage from exfiltrating from the pipe. You can see some of the debris there coming through the opening, and then allow us to get in a long-term solution that would, in this case, move the pipe out of the creek completely. So that's the primary points on that subject.
Okay, all right, great, and thank you very much for that. I do want to note that I think originally the county team was of the opinion that maybe a more permanent repair and as opposed to replace out of the stream was contemplated, but I think by way of compromise, we've tried to say, okay, if we need to take that pipe out of the stream, then we'll do that. But this situation still is in front of us, and we need to do something in the meantime.
That's right.
To do some repairs while we continue to talk about the pipe outside the stream bed, right?
And some of the details with the engineering, there's a lot of utilities in the roadway that are just up from this creek bank, walking up, if you've been out there seeing the roadway. So it's not just a matter of opening up the roadway and putting a new sewer in. There's traffic control, there's water lines, there's other utilities that have to be managed. So that all costs money. Utilities might have to be relocated. So those are the types of the engineering discussions we were having with MSD over a year ago.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So there was a question. I'm going to have you reiterate your question about whether or not the conversations have continued between MSD and the county.
There you go.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know that you're the most appropriate person to answer that, so I'm going to ask Karen to come forward.
I am not aware of any open invitation or suggestion that we get together. If there has been one, it hasn't reached my desk, and I know Joe's been meeting with Stantec's lead, Todd Papes, on a weekly basis, and they've been talking about it, but there's been beyond that, there's been no invitation to meet with MSD's team.
Okay.
Madam President, I just wanted to reiterate what you were saying, and you mentioned that compromise. We're looking at a compromise, and we just received this from, it was to Greg Landsman from Diana Christie. In the first page, this letter, I went down to the middle, and it says, even if a repair were possible, it would not solve the problem. Well, that's what temporary means, that we're trying to fix it until we're able to do something different. And as you were saying, we reached a compromise. Originally, we thought we needed to fix it. So, from listening to what you're saying, why don't we just do it? I mean, people are suffering. They're smelling that nasty stuff, and it's in their yard. Do the thing. Do the temporary fix until we can do something, more extensive. So we have the ability to say, do that, don't we?
Well, I think that's up for debate, by the way. So, but I think, we're trying to give some directive. In fact, I have a resolution that I will pass out to that point to say, we did pass a resolution a year ago that talked about this project. We gave pretty clear direction, asked MSD to give us some alternatives. We asked them for some modeling on something that we did not receive, but it's in the resolution. It was in the last resolution that we have a resolution to this issue with the pipe, consistent with the county's Phase 2A plan, elimination of all creek intrusion, prevention of new and increased overflows, consistent with the bridge budget. So those were the parameters that were outlined, and then in addition to that, I think we want to see a more temporary fix, like I said, in the meantime, as we kind of sort through what the long-term fix looks like. So I do think the desire is, and I did hear, to be fair, Greg Landsman say the same, to get something moving temporarily while we try to sort out the long-term issue. And I think that was kind of the conclusion that he drew as well. And so that's what we're trying to accomplish here. But I do think it's important that we hear from our own engineers about your opinion as to whether or not this can be done, because I think we were hearing from MSD that it could not be done. And I haven't, I mean, I just got this, so I haven't read through this. And I don't have my reading glasses on, so I'm going to do that later. But I suspect that's, we just need to sort through this and get the teams together. So that's the whole point of bringing it forward today and trying to move in a positive direction. So do you have any questions or comments, Commissioner?
Not until I read this letter.
Okay. Okay, so we have the city's response. We have the information we need from the county's team. I have a resolution that I will distribute for Thursday that talks about the long-term issue and the short-term issue, trying to get this moving forward. So I'm hopeful that the county team and the city team will come together and try to respond to what we're putting out. And I'll review this and make sure that we're not, we just talk in circles sometimes, and it's super frustrating. In the meantime, we've got this situation. So we just need to do something. And I think there's frustration on both sides, and we just need to get going. So, all right. So thank you for being here. Thank you for the information. And then we'll have something in front of us on Thursday. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Is there anything further from the commission? So we've got a lot coming in front of us on Thursday. We've got to organize all the resolutions. So anything else for the good of the cause?
Yes, just wanted to talk about the CVB and the honor that has been, another honor, has been bestowed upon Commissioner Todd Platoon. So they will name the ballroom the Todd B. Platoon Grand Ballroom.
That's right.
And he also was awarded the Humanitarian Award. Is that what it was? So, just sharing.
Yeah, it was very nice. And his son, Ethan.
Oh, yeah, yeah, and his son Ethan accepted the award on his behalf.
It was very nice. Thank you for reminding us of that. Yeah. Anything else, Commissioner?
I have nothing.
All right, thank you. I will then move that we adjourn.
Second.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
thank you.